In this video, we're going to introduce Corona Render for 3ds Max. So in the previous video, we saw how we can download and install and get our plugin ready to be used in 3ds Max. You will see the first time you will open up 3ds Max after you install Corona, you should see this toolbar right here, which is the Corona toolbar. And if you don't see it, you can right click on the toolbar there and activate it. So you have actually two toolbars. One is like more generic, when you can see the overall tools. The other one is a Corona Scatter toolbar. So you can right click on your 3ds Max toolbar and you can activate or deactivate these toolbars. So make sure that they are actually there. Otherwise, you probably have an issue for the installation. And then you can dock this anywhere you want in the interface, but I'm just gonna keep it here in the middle just to have it always in front of us so that we can use it in the course, in the various lessons. Now we're gonna start with simple things and then we're gonna proceed forward and we're gonna increase the level of difficulty little by little. So what's inside here is everything you can find in Corona essentially. So you have the Corona cameras there, and you can work with Corona cameras to set up your renderings. And this is one of the last thing we're gonna see. And then we have Coronal Lights. So when you work with Corona, you should use Coronal Lights, Corona materials. You have Corona Proxy, which is a tool that will help you to optimize your scene and make them less heavy to render and to display. And we have Corona Decals for applying graphics. And we also have other tools here, like the proxy. These are all other management tools to manage the proxy objects, to manage the lights. And you have materials. You have Chaos Cosmos, which is the library of objects and assets that we can use. And we're going to see all of these, of course, in this series of videos. And also, you have the frame buffer, which is the render panel where you can set up the rendering, you can work with the post-production. You can decide if you want to do interactive rendering or standard rendering. And so you have all these last tools in the right of the toolbar that are rendering tools, so where you can actually run the render. So the process here is to set up a 3D scene or import a 3D scene, then set up the lighting, then move forward to the materials and then run the render. So this is the path that we're gonna follow in this series of videos. And we will understand how to work with Corona. Now, if we go to rendering setup, this is where we can set up the renderer. Otherwise, it would not work. So this is another really important part of the interface concerning Corona Render. So you can see now the renderer is Arnold, which is the native render engine in 3ds Max. We're gonna switch into Corona. Now, if you're interested in 3ds Max and Arnold, you can check our 3ds Max video course. You can see here the common section of this panel is the same for all the render engines that you will use in 3ds Max. So whether you use V-Ray or Corona or whatever else, you can go here. You will find the same information in the common settings. And here in the scene settings, this is where you will find all the Corona settings. And let's say that Corona is kind of a simplified version of V-Ray. So you have pretty much the same things, but they are reduced to the most important. So I definitely suggest the use of Corona for those of you who don't want to spend much time playing around with settings and they want to go directly to the action. And then you have the camera settings, performance settings, system settings, render elements also, just like V-Ray. So it's really similar to V-Ray again, but it's simplified and it's also cheaper. So it costs less than V-Ray. So it's a good alternative to V-Ray. Now, when I launch the frame buffer again, this is similar to V-Ray. So we have this black middle part and we can render now this scene. Of course, this is totally black right now. So we have the render button there on the right, the results in the middle here, and then you have this right panel there to have the information. So render setup, V-Ray frame buffer, and also toolbar. That's basically constituting the Corona interface inside 3ds Max. So these are the main tools that we're gonna use. Now you can see that if you switch render and you try to create something with V-Ray frame buffer or frame buffer for Corona, it's gonna tell you that you need to adjust the render setup. So you need to do this, or you can do it automatically when you first run a render. It's gonna prompt you to switch from the previous render engine to another one. Now let's bring in some assets so we can do a quick test if everything works. So I'm gonna use the Render People website where you can find free 3D models of people and also, of course, a lot of other 3D assets. And this is very useful because we will find a file with 3ds Max and Corona already set up for us. So you can decide if you want post people, rigid people, animated people. I'm also gonna place a link in the description. And you can see that we have for 3ds Max, Maya, SketchUp, Cinema 4D, Unreal, Unity, Blender, Modo, and Rhino. And all of those software, you will find them in our channel. So look for them, or you can write us for assistance. You can ask us for assistance. Write your comments, write your suggestions, write your questions. So you will find all the information here. And I'm gonna go for the animated people. So I'm gonna click to download. And when you download it, you will find a zipped folder which I've placed in a folder called render people. So I have this, I need to extract, first of all, the folder, and then I have to extract the character that I want to use. And in my case, I want to use, you can see here, well, let's double click and just see what's inside here. So you should find the 3D models and the textures. So you need to extract everything. I'm gonna go for Sophia here. So these are the texture, and everything should be already set up for us. So you shouldn't do anything more than just opening up the scene. You can see you have native rendering engine, you have Octane, you have V-Ray, and then you have Corona. So in our case, this is the simplest and the easiest way we can start to work with Corona, which is having a 3ds Max scene with the Corona render already activated and set up for us. So I'm gonna click and drag. I can either open up this file or I can merge it because this is a 3ds Max file. So I'm gonna open it up and just say okay here to, well, just ignore the message. This is just using, I think, a previous version of Corona, but we don't care about that as long as it works. So yes, you can give a read to that log anytime and just say yes, okay, and just wait for a few seconds. And there you go. Now, if the character is there, if the material is there, if the texture are there, and you can see also we have an animation. So if I click on the timeline CTI, I'm gonna click it and drag it around. I can see also the animation. So everything works fine in this scene. Now, the last test I need to do is to see if actually we are seeing something in the render. So again, you can see the render has been already set up for us. We probably have some settings also here. And we talk about all those things later on, so don't worry, we're gonna go step by step. I'm gonna start with simple things. And just gonna open up the frame buffer and render this scene right away. So you have statistics there on the right. They're gonna show you everything about the rendering you are doing. So the timing and primary engine, secondary engine, primitives, and all that stuff. But we're gonna get to that later. So I'm gonna just also add a plane here. And everything is black, so I need at least one source of lighting. Because you can see there is a shadow right there, but we don't really have a light inside the scene, except for the 3ds Max default light, which works with 3ds Max but not, and Arnold, but not with Corona. So we need to add at least one light. So I'm gonna go to the lights creation panel here, and I'm gonna go with the photometric free light and also say yes. So I'm gonna add quickly this light just to show you, and I'm gonna place it here in front of my character. So this is it's not a Corona light yet. It's a photometric 3D Studio light. So if I run a render, you can see it's giving me some issues here. So yes, you can use some 3ds Max lights, but you need to set up Corona shadows into those lights. Otherwise, it will not work. So let's see how we can fix this. I'm going to go into the Modify tab with the light selected, and I'm going to go into the shadows, and I'm going to select Corona shadows. Now, the same exact thing you need to do with V-Ray. You need to set up V-Ray shadows. So Corona is, again, kind of a smaller brother of V-Ray. Now you can see that our lighting is starting to illuminate my character. So I need to increase the intensity here, and I can also change the color. So I can manage the light as I can do it in standard 3ds Max. So nothing changes really. Now for the plane there, I'm gonna change the color, and also the colors are visible when we do a render. Now let's create a standard Omni. So it's another type of light that we have already in 3ds Max. We are not yet using the Corona light. And let's run another render. And we have the same exact issue right here. So again, I'm gonna go into the Modify, go to the shadows, and use Corona shadows. And so that's all we need to do to have those lights visible. Now you can see the Omni light, the standard Omni light, it's more intense than the photometric, because photometric are more realistic, while Omni light is more kind of an approximation of what an Omni light could be in reality. So let's say photometric are more accurate in terms of realism and in terms of physical effect. Now you can also set up the high quality there and make sure that you have the lighting and the materials, realistic materials with maps, so you can already see what's happening into the scene. It's gonna show me already a nice effect. Also, you can use shadows and ambient occlusion there in the viewport settings. They're gonna help you to figure out what you're doing. Now let's go for the Corona light. So I'm gonna switch from the standard to Corona and add a Corona light. And the Corona light is right there now. You can see it's again an omnidirectional light or a spherical light or Omni light. It has many names in many software, but it's always the same. It's a light projecting photons or rays in every direction. And I'm gonna place it in front of my character. So I've placed 3 different sources of lights. They will all behave differently, but the best one that you probably want to use is the Corona light. So when you work with a render engine, you should use its own light and its own materials. So Corona lights, Corona materials, Corona render setup. This is what we're going to talk about in this course. So now we are rendering right now, and you can see another difference of the Corona light from the other lights is that the Corona light is visible. You can actually see it into the render already without setting up anything. It's already set up to be visible. So it appears like a spherical lamp that we just placed inside. And so we already have everything, all the basic things that we need. We have the render setup. We can use also colors. You can see the color is displayed, but later on we will use materials. We already have Corona materials applied to this character. So if we go in the material editor of 3ds Max, we can use it in the slate material editor version or in the compact version. But you can see that we can find in the scene materials the material that this scene is being using for the character, and we can see that's a Corona material and also a pretty complex one. So this one here was already created for us, but we're gonna see how we can create our customized materials, our customized lights later on. We will see how to customize everything. So this will be all for this first video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to show us your support, you can join as a supporter for the channel. So stay updated and stay subscribed for the following lesson in Corona Render, but also for other render engines. Again, if you want to ask for specific questions, you can write them in the comments. You can contact us for assistance. And also, you can write your suggestions for other videos, other courses, and other guides. You can use the search tool in the channel to search for a topic that you're looking for if you want. So thanks again, and see you in the next lesson.